Greetings friends, JawlessPaul here. Today we're going to be going over all the weapons, all the guns in Witchfire. I'm going to be ranking them on this here tier list and going to be talking about each of them and how I feel about them. So basically we've got S tier, S tier. These are guns that are extremely easy to use and they're very powerful. So if a gun is like makes the game a lot easier when you're playing and they're very powerful, they're going to be an S tier. A tier is they're very powerful as well, but maybe not so easy to use or not as easy to dominate with. These are some of the ones that rely a little bit more on getting strings of crits. Some weapons are like they're okay, and then they get really good when you get a lot of crits. Those will be in A tier. In B tier, we have guns that are okay, and some of them have very good damage, but maybe they have problems with ammo management. They just don't give you as much ammunition as the other weapons do, or something like that. Maybe there's a mechanic that make it more difficult to use. And then C tier will just be weapons that just feel much less powerful than the others on the list. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and start. I'll put everything in let's go in B tier. We'll start everything in B tier. I don't have a D tier because I honestly don't feel like there are any weapons that are deserving of D tier. The other thing is we're not going to be talking about the demonic weapons, only the regular weapons in the game for now. I think later, maybe later on in in the development. The game is in early access, by the way, and this is just we just had the Witch Mountain update, so it's about March of 2025. The game is probably quite a few months away from full release, so bear that in mind as you're watching this. But as the game gets released, when the game gets released, I think I'll do another tier list where I talk about these. But I just thought they were really interesting to talk about. Some of these weapons are very, very intriguing. Okay, let's just start with the Angelus then. The Angelus is this gun. It's an automatic weapon. I'll also talk about where to get each of these items. So this is it's an auto rifle. It's a medium ranged weapon, and you get it through research. So in this game, many of you know this already, but if you research in the mirror, you can choose close, medium, and long range weapons. This will be in the medium range guns. Yeah, so the way it works is, just firing it. Hip fire is very widespread, especially the longer you hold it down. You can see the aim reticle gets wider and wider. Aiming down sights, it does a very, very good job of being very accurate. The damage on this weapon is super, super good. And it also has, while you have these wings up, you see the wings on either side, that will block one instance of damage. And when it does block an instance of damage, the attack rate goes down significantly, but it also increases the damage quite a bit. It's super, super good, especially if you can get crits if you block something. The damage reduction actually comes back up very quickly, I think. So that's something to keep in mind too. This weapon is super, super strong. I think most of the auto rifles are very, very good just because it's nice to shoot fast. There's a lot of things that also synergize with it really well, like Curfane synergizes super, super well with any weapon that fires quickly. So Angelus, I'm gonna put that into S tier. I know we're starting strong, right? Angelus is a very, very strong auto rifle that you get from medium tier research. Okay, next we're gonna go with the Midas. Midas is another auto rifle, and oh wait, I have it in my B slot. So Midas is an auto rifle. It's got a heat mechanic, so if you can see there at the bottom, it's got cold, heat, and overheat. And the way that this works is when you're firing cold, the damage is normal. When you fire on heat, the damage is higher. It's higher damage. And then when you get to overheat, the damage is actually less, but you get fire. So it'll put fire on enemies. And then what happens is if you If you reload while overheated, it gives a burst of damage to any enemies that are burning. So if you get up to an enemy and you can inflict burn by getting it overheated, then you reload, it'll give a little burst of damage. Not a huge burst of damage, but it's certainly something. So it's kind of nice. You've got the indicator on the gun, the nothing, and then it goes to yellow, and then it goes to red for overheating. So kind of an interesting gun, and it's an automatic weapon. It's got a good reload speed. Because it's got kind of funny damage, and can be a little bit hard to, excuse me if I figure out where my windows are. It can be pretty hard to figure out where those things are. There used to be a mechanic with this gun where you would like get crazy amounts of damage. I think it was a bug though. I don't especially love this gun. I'm gonna put it into B. Not necessarily because it has a specific problem with ammo. I mean, it can be very, very good. Once you get good with it, it could be fine. And auto rifles just in general are pretty solid. But it's not my favorite. And there are other stronger choices, I think. All right, that is the Midas. The next one we have is what do we call this one? This is the Ricochet. So the Ricochet, it's a little bit gonna be kind of hard to illustrate this one. Maybe I'll pull up a clip of what the Ricochet does. But when you aim down sights, you see the three little skulls on the gun there. If you have three enemies, you tag three enemies in that circle, then bullets that you fire will ricochet off of the first enemy you shoot to the other two. So it's actually a really great gun for taking out larger groups. And then at third level, it also fires lightning each time an enemy is hit with 7 ricocheted bullets. So if you get enemies tagged and then you fire off 7 bullets and they get hit and stuff, then there's like lightning that goes with that as well. I think Ricochet is great. It's such an easy mechanic to get working, in my opinion. I'm gonna put Ricochet in S tier as well. Maybe even higher than Angelus, but I don't know. We'll do a final go over of these when we're done. But I like Ricochet a lot. It's kind of the first weapon that I really enjoyed. Oh, and by the way, with the Midas and the Ricochet, those are both also medium range weapons. And you might have a character that starts with, like my character started with the Ricochet. You might also have a character that starts with the Midas. If not, then you're just going to find it in medium range weapon research. So if you're looking for those guns, it's going to be medium range weapon. The reload speed on this is pretty quick as well. Like I'd say the Midas and the Ricochet are both maybe about the same. Midas a little bit slower, but the Angelus, I think I showed it as well, but the Angelus is quite a bit slower. However, you have 70 rounds and 500 and some, extra rounds. So you get a lot more rounds with the Angelus, which makes it okay. All right. So moving on to Hypnosis. Hypnosis is a long-range weapon, and I don't think there's any characters that start with Hypnosis. You're just going to have to research it to get the Hypnosis in long range. But the Hypnosis has that little crystal in the middle, and as you can hear, there's like that sound effect, and then it kind of flashes. So what you want to do is fire right when that blue crystal goes fully blue and that sound effect reaches its pinnacle. And if you do that, you get a ton of damage. You get an extra burst of damage. Let's see. You get an extra burst of damage, and it's weighted towards that perfect end of the time. So it'll inflict even more damage. The longer you charge it, the more damage you do, with a bigger bonus if you go right to that perfectly timed spot. And every third perfect shot in the window will deal lightning damage as well. So it's another lightning weapon. Very nice. If you're going for like a lightning build of some kind, Hypnosis is a good option as well. I tend to think of this one as an A tier weapon. Longer range weapons are very good just because you can take a higher spot and kind of pick off enemies without having to get too close. These are all medium range, which really does work that way. In this game, if you are too far away from enemies, you will not do nearly as much damage as when you're up close in the proper range or closer, right? Like you can be close range with any of these weapons and it'll be fine. Of course, a long range weapon kind of feels awkward when you're shooting from, you're looking down sights a rifle at someone 2 feet in front of you. But anyway, next gun we're going to talk about is the All-Seeing Eye. This one is another, it's kind of a favorite of mine, to be honest. So the All-Seeing Eye, it's kind of geared towards taking out enemies like from full health and then dealing a ton of damage to a lot of enemies around them. So you've got increased damage against enemies with more than 75% HP. A magical circle appears on critical hits, dealing damage to all enemies it frames, ignoring distance. So if an enemy is within that circle, then they get then enemies within that circle all take some damage. And then the third Mysterium is that it also applies decay, which is amazing if you get a critical hit. So this gun is really great. Another great one for taking out huge packs of enemies from a distance, and especially if you're like up high, like if you're at a higher vantage point, and so you can see lots of enemies, and so lots of enemies are in the circle. It's going to do a ton of damage. This weapon is super good. I think I'm going to put it into A tier, mostly because this one is a little bit harder to use than these two. These two are kind of like almost make the game easy. These two are still tough to get it right, but they're very powerful. All right, next one we're going to talk about, is Frostbite. Frostbite is another gun kind of similar to the last two that we just talked about. It's a long-range rifle with it's got no scope. None of these weapons that we've talked about here have like scopes of any kind. But this is the Frost rifle, and this one requires that you reload in the right moment, and then it applies some frost. So if you look at this, a well-timed secondary reload boosts damage for 3 shots. A perfect reload adds freeze, and then if you get 3 consecutive perfect reloads, it empowers the next shot with double damage and a freezing trail. So not only will it freeze an enemy, but it'll have a freezing trail that if enemies walk through the path that the bullet took, it'll freeze them as well, which is really good. It's really good. However, the problem with this weapon, in my opinion, is that it's very tough to chain perfect reloads, partially because they make it harder. They make it harder each time. So if I get a couple of perfect reloads in a row, see how it gets smaller and smaller, and like we're still firing off and getting those freezes, but oh my gosh, it starts to get really tough here. So at a certain point, it's like you can't, and so but you can see these trails of ice. That's kind of cool. They last for a while, and so you can set up kind of an area where there's freezing trail. Super nice, right? Like that is super great. But you, in the heat of battle, you might have some trouble getting those perfect reloads, but the double damage is amazing and the freezing trail is amazing. Like don't get me wrong, I really do like those things. It's just that it's a little bit hard to make it happen. So I'm gonna put this in B tier because it is very hard to make that happen, whereas like these two, it's not too hard to get really good damage. The frost is obviously nice and it's great, but if you think about it, like freeze is best when enemies are like, they're like down, kind of medium distance from you. You use it to like, it's like a defensive mechanism, or maybe it's good for like if enemies are swarming you. And so if you're going to want to be far away with this one to get those perfect reloads, because if you get any pressure, it's going to be hard to get that. So B tier. obviously these things could change over time. I think this gun is probably really good, but it's a matter of you getting really good at that perfect reload timing. Okay. Next is the Hangfire. We got to our first pistol. Oh, that's another long-range weapon, by the way. You're going to research that in the mirror at long-range weapon. And then let's talk about the Hangfire. Hangfire bullets lodge into enemies or the environment explode on reload. The more enemies with lodged bullets, the bigger the damage of each bullet explosion. Bullet explosions burn enemies, and bullets lodged in the environment have a significant increased explosion range. So you can set up like traps for enemies and stuff and apply burn. The Hangfire is a super, super, super good weapon. I'm just going to put it that way. Those explosions do so much damage. They do so much damage. And so I think this is one of those guns that you want to try to get as soon as possible. This is another medium range weapon. Hangfire, yeah, it's one of my favorites. It's the great thing about it is it's fairly easy. I mean, all you have to do is hit the enemy. You don't even have to get crits or anything like that. They just have to lodge in the enemy or shoot even around the enemy on the ground and then reload, and it explodes everything. The one thing about this one I will say is that it's a little bit, it takes a long time to get it leveled up. I found, at least, it took a long time to get it leveled up, but man, once you do get it leveled up, this thing is crazy. It's so stinking good. We're going to put this in S tier. Not even messing around with Hangfire. It's so stinking good. Okay. Alrighty. Let's go on to our next friend, the Duelist. This is one of the newer weapons on the block. I made a little video about this already, but basically, once you kill an enemy with the gun, the barrel glows red. There's no way I can show that to you here, but once you kill an enemy with the gun, the barrel glows red. You can aim down sights and shoot an enemy, and it'll put you into bullet time, which is really cool. Maybe I'll play a little video while I'm talking about this, but puts them into bullet time, and then once you hear this like loud clicking sound, if you crit that enemy when the click happens, then the gun is empowered and your reloads are super fast, and it gets kind of crazy. It adds burn to bullets and quickens the reload, and then when it's level 3, you can, if you kill an enemy, it extends the empower duration. So you have your weapon empowered for a long time, as long as it takes to kill all the packs of enemies. Now, larger enemies will still, it's not like so powerful that it's gonna just murder everything. Like, it doesn't get that strong, but you'll able to kill most weaker enemies, and even medium tier enemies are gonna go down really fast. Still, like the bombarder enemies, or one of those ones with the shields, or the guys with that make the shield and then they like recharge or whatever. Those guys, it'll still be tough to kill them quickly with the Duelist. So keep that in mind. Yeah, it's. I would say this is an A tier weapon. It's really solid. I think in the right hands, this could be completely dominant, and like you could kill everything. But it's not easy mode like these three. Okay, does that make sense? All right, we're gonna keep moving. Hunger. Oh, and that's a medium tier weapon. You research it at the mirror. Yeah. Okay. Hunger is a pistol that I think one of the prayers starts with, and but otherwise it's researched as a medium distance weapon. With Hunger, you've got 6 bullets, and if you crit those bullets, then the next time you reload, the bullets that you crit with will be empowered. They'll and eventually, yeah, if you crit, if you crit, then at tier 3 it'll also make those bullets freeze. For the first bullet, if every shot, if every shot was a critical hit, excuse me. So this is another one that requires quite a bit of skill. If you don't get critical hits with this, then you don't get the bullet damage increase, and if you don't get all of the crits, then you don't get the freeze for the first bullet. Okay, in my opinion, this one feels a little bit weaker. I don't think that this is as strong as the other pistols at all. It's okay. right? It's not bad, but it's difficult to use, and it's difficult to get that effect. Having 6 crits, obviously it'll happen, but like it's not a consistent effect, right? Kind of the same with the Frostbite rifle. Like it's just going to be kind of hard to make that happen. So I'm going to leave it in B tier. I think some people are going to dislike that. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with people disliking that. That's okay. All right, Cricket. The Cricket is a short range weapon, our first short range weapon. And this is, I believe, a reference to Men in Black. You got this kind of fast weapon. If you aim down sights, it's so stinking fast and so accurate. It's great. And then if you kill an enemy and then dash immediately afterwards, it reloads the gun, which is great, right? So it boosts stamina and spell recharge on kills, which is awesome. That's super, super strong. This is the best weapon for if you're doing a cast or a spell based build of any kind. It's super, super, super good. And dashing right after the kill for level 3 temporarily boosts the firearm's damage, and consecutive kills and dashes increase the damage boost. The only issue that I have with this one, and the reason why I'm not going to put it higher, is that it does run into a bit of ammo issues. I mean, it does have a decent amount of ammo, but I find that I'm constantly running out of ammo with this thing. Partially because it takes a full clip for a medium or small enemy, usually, unless you're getting like all crits, right? Which some people are, and some people are better than me. That's okay. But the reason I'm going to put this in B, and the reason why I'm putting it in B really is just for that spell-based build. If you have a spell that you're using a lot, the Cricket is great to kind of pair with that. It recharges your spells faster if you get kills. So Cricket, B tier. If you're doing a spell build, though, you could probably put it in S tier even. Like it's really, really strong for that. But just on its own, and maybe with things like, I don't know, the Kerfane, right? That makes it good. The having only 20 shots and it going so fast, like you're just reloading a lot. Anyway, that's just my opinion on Cricket. Will my opinion change on that a little bit? I mean, I know that using spells in this game, we're talking about guns today, but using spells in this game is a really good idea. You want to use spells as often as you can. All right. Then we have the Rotweaver. Is that what it's called? Rotweaver. Yes. Rotweaver. All right. Rotweaver is another close range weapon. However, this weapon is only found by going to a specific place. It's in the Wailing Tower. You have to be at Gnosis 2, maybe even, to get down into the Wailing Tower, and you have to go all the way to the bottom, and there's a boss room, and you don't have to beat the boss to get this weapon, but you have to go up to the table and pick it up. So if you can get to the boss room, but you can't kill the boss, that's okay. You can still get this weapon. This is a close range weapon, and it is so stinking fast. As you can see there, it's got that green stuff on the back. This weapon also applies decay, and the longer the burst, the more powerful the curse. The effect wanes when the gun is not in use. When an enemy dies from decay, a few bullets regenerate in the magazine. After a few seconds, cysts form on decaying enemies. When shot, these cysts explode, spraying decay on nearby enemies. This is your awesome decay-based weapon. It's super, super good. I think that the Rotweaver is super, super fun. It is a short-range weapon, but you can stay long-range with it and just apply decay to every enemy that you see. And if you wait and then you shoot the cysts, it sprays more decay on enemies. It's really, really good. Like, this weapon is so much fun to use. It's just so fast, and the decay effect really... It does a lot for me. I really enjoy it. It's an S tier weapon in my opinion. Yeah, We'll leave it at that. This weapon is available, but you do have to get down into the Wailing Tower, the boss room of the Wailing Tower. Okay. Judgement, another one of the new guns that they released not too long ago. Judgement is a shotgun. I guess we haven't talked about shotguns yet. This will be our first one. Let's see. Aiming down sights fires a slow-moving, long-range projectile. Shots can be charged to increase power and projectile speed. Enemies surviving a shot with low health begin to decay. So basically, you have the basic, you have the basic shotgun. If you just hip fire it, right? It's not a bad spread, and it's fairly powerful. You can charge it up and fire it that way for more damage. But you can also aim down sights, and it kind of becomes a cannon. And the effect changes if you have Mysterium 2 versus Mysterium 3, right? Or, sorry, Mysterium 1, and then Mysterium 2, the projectile speed increases quite a bit. So the first time you use this at Mysterium 1, that like slower moving projectile, you might think that that's kind of weird, and I agree. It's actually kind of hard to hit things with it. But then if you get to Mysterium 2, it speeds up. And then the third effect, enemies surviving a shot with low health begin to decay. I haven't seen this be very good, to be honest with you. It doesn't seem to... I don't know how close to death they have to be. Maybe against bosses where they could be at low health but still have tons of HP, that this will be super strong. But I haven't really found that to be particularly strong. Let me know in the comments if you have had a good time with this gun. But I find it to be, I mean, it's a shotgun, which is awesome. Oh, and I wanted to talk a little bit, I'll take this opportunity to talk a little bit about how shotguns in general work when you run out of ammo. So if you run out of ammo, he will put the prayer will put one bullet into the thing, but he won't fully reload the weapon. Unless he does. I don't know why he did that time and he didn't before. Anyway, sometimes he does and sometimes he doesn't. If you get to your last weapon and you reload, it just kind of sits there, and then he takes a minute to put the rest of the bullets in. I guess that's how shotguns work. I'm not a big firearms guy, but you put one bullet into the barrel and then the other ones go in the bottom. I don't know. But anyway, that's how it works. So reloading is a little bit strange with shotguns. All the shotguns are the same way that way. That it'll reload one bullet, and then he tips it over, and then he reloads the other ones quickly. It takes a long time to reload shotguns. So hopefully it makes up for that slow reload time with some good power. Judgement, I don't feel like does that as much. I'm going to leave Judgement here in B tier. It's okay. It has good damage, but there's actually problems with the ammo, I think. It's not great for ammo. All right, and as for the Judgement, the unfortunate thing about this weapon is that you don't get it until you've gotten all the way to the end of the Witch Mountain map. You have to go through the labyrinth and defeat the waves of the labyrinth, which can take a little while, and you have to. I think you're going to need to be Gnosis 4 in order to find this weapon. So it's kind of a late game weapon too. So that's something to keep in mind as well. All right, let's talk about the Psychopomp. The Psychopomp. Psychopomp kills with a charged melee, regenerate up to half a magazine. So this gives us the chance to talk about something else in this game. The melee. Melee is strong. It's pretty good when you have it charged up. So I want to point something out to you. I didn't know this for the longest time. In the bottom left, you see the fist. That fist that's there, and it's got the circle around it. It works just like a spell. Your melee is a spell. And after you've used it, you have to charge it back up by shooting enemies with your gun, okay? Or killing enemies also charges it up. And then once it's got the circle around it again, you'll have the charged effect, which is larger, and it actually does a very good amount of damage. When it's not charged up, you just kind of swing your fist, and it's a little bit like you don't really mean it, and it does a tiny bit of damage. It does like 20 damage. It's not very much. So I was confused about that for a long time. I was like, why aren't my punches not doing the thing? But it's because they weren't charged, and you have to charge it up just like a spell. Okay. Consecutive shots on the same target deal increased damage, and kills recharge the melee attacks. So you get extra melee attacks with this weapon, which I actually really like using the melee. So that's great. And the attacks are so stinking fast, okay? The attacks are really, really fast. This gun does have the inherent problem of being a shotgun, and so the reload is very slow. It also you have to get up close and personal. Like if you're like this far away, the shotgun is going to be very, very disappointing. However, if you're right here, this is great. You're killing stuff super, super fast with this gun, and then you're punching them, and they're having a bad day. Okay. But it runs into that same problem that all of the shotguns have, where the reload is very, very slow. The damage is good, but only at like really, really close range. I feel like even medium range, it's really drops off fast. I know a lot of people like the Psychopomp. I've read it in the forums. However, I'm gonna leave the Psychopomp actually down in C. It's the only weapon that I have in C tier. If you disagree with me and you want to tell me all about it, I'd love to hear your comments. But at the moment, that's kind of where I place it. It doesn't really inspire me. Maybe I should put Judgement down there as well, because it kind of has the same problems, but it does have some range capability, I guess. I don't know. That's I'm just gonna do that now. I'm gonna stick to my guns. Yeah. Anyway, Echo is next. Good. Have no fear if you're a shotgun lover. Have no fear, because Echo is here. Echo is an amazing gun. Pellets have a delayed explosion that apply burn, and lethal shots push enemies back with great force. Lethal pellet explosion have more range and apply burn to nearby enemies at Mysterium 2, and then at Mysterium 3, sliding reloads 2 shells and temporarily increases your damage. All right, let me show you this. Let me show you this gun for a minute. So we shoot, and the pellets explode. You run, you do this like slide thing, which is sprinting, and then you push the crouch button. You get this slide, and then your bullets are empowered, and they do even more damage. I stinking love this gun so much. This gun is so great. The double damage with also applying burn. Burn, if you don't know, burn makes enemies take additional damage from your shots. It's just like it doesn't do like a damage over time effect. It just increases the damage of your shots against that enemy. Or maybe it also affects your spells. I'm not sure, actually. Sorry about that, but I don't know. This gun is crazy. This gun does so much damage. This is one of the ones that in the most recent map that we just got, where you're running around trying to kill orbs. I tried this gun out, and suddenly you could kill orbs in like 5 shots. Like literally, you shoot it 5 times and the orb is dead. Or if you like slide, and then shoot the orb, it's like 4 shots maybe. Anyway. It's super, super strong. I'm putting this in S tier as well. Thank goodness we have another shotgun up in S tier. Oh man, it's so great. Yeah, actually, it's interesting. The long range weapons are very good. Or sorry, the short and medium range weapons are really strong here. I think the reason why I rate these longer range weapons so low is because they're very difficult to use. I guess that ultimately is what this tier list is about. I think all these guns have potential to be super, super strong. It's just how easy it is to do what you want to do with them. Okay, let's go on to the next gun, the Chimera. The Chimera is a long-range sniper rifle. If you were waiting for one of those, we finally... Or sorry, not the Chimera, the Basilisk, the other mythical creature. Basilisk. The Basilisk... excuse me here. Here we go. It's a scoped long-range sniper rifle. Super, super good. Let me talk about the effect real quick. If you shoot an enemy and you crit an enemy, then everything in the scope, in the circle of the scope, will burn. And as we said before, burning just makes enemies take more damage. And then shooting that burning enemy extends the burn duration. Killing a burning enemy with a critical hit triggers an enhanced fiery scope that continuously damages enemies. So all you have to do is look at enemies through the scope, and it damages them. And you're just applying burn to everything in front of you. It's super, 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 super good. Like, in this game, it's nice to get up onto high areas and like not every map allows for it. Like the Tower of the Damned isn't as good for this, and the Witch Mountain isn't as good. But man, Iron Gate Castle and Scarlet Coast are so stinking good for this weapon in particular, I think, because you can get so far away from enemies and just burn everything. It's so strong. This is an S tier weapon. So yeah, nice full loadout of S tier weapons there. I like it a lot. I think you should totally give it a try. All right, next we'll talk about the other scoped sniper rifle we have is the Hailstorm. And I'm gonna contrast these two weapons quite a bit because they are both scoped weapons, but they feel super different. The Basilisk, you'll notice, has 10 shots with 50 in reserve. The Hailstorm has 5 shots with 20 in reserve. So already you can see that this weapon is going to struggle a bit more, I think. I think that's obvious. Oh, we're not ready to come here yet. If we look at the effect, Hailstorm, every third consecutive critical hit recharges the magazine with 2 extra bullets. Okay, this is great in theory. If you can get your critical hits off and you're just like a crit master and that's all you do is crit. That's all I do is crit. then you are going to do great with this weapon. Because that's what you need to do. You need to get consecutive critical hits. They also decrease the zoom and flinch and increase handling and bullet bending. Mistakes or reloading reset the buff. All right. And then every third consecutive critical hit at tier 3 makes target explode with a freezing shockwave. This is super good. If you can get this, that exploding freeze is amazing because you freeze everything in an area. That's super nice. Then it makes it even easier to get crits off, right? So this is super good, and the damage on this weapon. So we can't really show it here, but the Basilisk, not the Basilisk, yeah, the Basilisk versus the Hailstorm. Hailstorm does tons more damage. Like a crit is like 200 or more with the Hailstorm, whereas the Chimera is a little bit lower. Obviously, you're applying burn, so you're dealing more damage that way, and it fires much faster. Like look how fast that's firing versus this. Like that's the fastest you could fire the Hailstorm. So different weapons. I greatly prefer the Basilisk. I think the Basilisk is easier to use and it's super dominant. Like you can, like especially the boss at the bottom of Wailing Tower, like because a lot of the time you're very far away from them and you can just get them burning and then just like chain crits. Hailstorm is good as well, but man, you've only got 20 rounds, 25 rounds total. Obviously, if you get consecutive crits, you're good to go, but it's slow and it can be hard to get those crits. Super powerful though, and a lot of people love this weapon because it is your extremely high damage crit monster, right? However, I'm going to keep this in, let's see, where did I put it? I put this in, where did I put it? Oh yeah, I'm putting it in B, mostly because the ammo situation is very tough with this one, and it's hard to use. Like I said though, if you're a FPS master and you do tons of crits, you'll probably find this weapon to be crazy powerful, and it is potentially. But many times I've brought this weapon with me, and I run out of ammo, and it's just like I'm running around with a super powerful sniper rifle that I can't do anything with because I didn't get 3 consecutive crits with it, and so I didn't ever get those extra bullets. And yeah, it can be kind of a bummer. My experience with it has been as a B tier weapon, very strong, it does tons of damage, but isn't that great. I will say though, on the Witch Mountain, the labyrinth section where you're killing orbs, this thing is a orb killing monster, man. And the orbs are so big you can't miss, right? And so like you can from far away it takes 3 shots with the Hailstorm to destroy an orb. So that is extremely strong and a reason to just bring it with you on labyrinth runs just in general. It's also really good for big bosses with big heads, right? So you can just get those crits no problem, right? Yeah, that's but that's kind of my take on it. You know, if you're in Witch Mountain, this is an S tier weapon, right? Like it's going to be so powerful on Witch Mountain at that labyrinth section. But in general, if you're just running around with it, I find it a little bit harder to get the benefits, which are having consecutive crits, right? That's kind of hard to do. All right, last weapon. And it's long range and it's researched, right? So a long range weapon researched. Okay, we'll put it down there. Stryga. Stryga is a bolt thrower weapon, a stake gun. This is a long-range weapon, though it doesn't work like the other long-range weapons. It's kind of unique. So it shoots a stake, but it has like a travel time. One cool thing is if it's far enough away, it'll create this like fiery explosion. It'll also do lightning damage. So once you get it to tier 3, critical hits will shock all nearby foes, which is insane. This weapon does so much damage, and it has 2 elements. It has the burn and the shock. Shock is great because if an enemy is shocked and they get hit by something, they send out like damaging lightning bolts to other enemies around them. So super strong. And it deals bonus damage to stunned enemies. So this is a great boss killer because bosses will often have like, if you do enough damage to them, then they kind of like topple over, and they have a long time to just shoot tons of stakes into them and do lots of damage that way. However, this one is a little bit harder, right? Because the bolt travels, and so you have to kind of lead, especially if an enemy is really far away. Like it can be really hard to get crits off with this weapon if the enemy is far away because you don't have a scope, nothing zoomed in. But it will go a long distance. So this is not researched. This one is actually found in the Hermitorium. I don't know. So I know it's available for people who have early access, and my guess is that everyone who's had early access knows you come down here. Once you get, I think it's Gnosis 1, it might, or maybe Gnosis 2. It's not in this room. It's in this room down here. So Gnosis 2 probably, and it's sitting right here on this bench. So that's where you would find that. How do I rank the Stryga? I think the Stryga is an A tier weapon. It's super dominant, but it is harder to use. It's harder to be dominant with. Okay, that is my take on the weapons of Witchfire. I hope that makes some sense. I hope that my reasoning makes some sense. These I want it to be clear. It's not that I don't like any of the weapons in like A or B tier necessarily, or even C tier. I just find them a little bit harder to dominate with. They require a little bit more skill and finesse, and maybe some luck getting those crits. Maybe with the exception of Midas. Midas just rubs me the wrong way. Something about the way the weapon handles, the way the weapon feels, and the burn and overheat mechanic. I've never really liked it, and so maybe it deserves to be higher because it's not hard to dominate with, but it doesn't have that much damage. Like compared to these 2 guns, it really doesn't bring as much damage. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm really curious. I feel like this is a game with there's lots of good discussion potential for this game. I want to do another list talking about the different spells in the game, and let's briefly talk about the demonic weapons, because I know people are gonna be asking about it. Like, why didn't you talk about the demonic weapons? Well, there's only 3 of them. First of all. So three weapons, it's hard to, and they don't really compare to the other weapons. So how do I think about them? This is how I think about them. I take the Vulture all the time. This is the weapon that I take all the time. I don't bring the other ones because they really don't feel as strong. Like Falling Star is cool. You've got like, if you're aiming down sights, and it'll track enemies. If you fire at them, it'll track them, and it does decent damage. But here's the thing: the Vulture hits an enemy for 200, and then it proceeds to Yondu, the Yondu arrow. It proceeds to fly around and hit a ton of other enemies. So it's great for bosses because it does a ton of damage. It's great for huge crowds of enemies because it does a ton of damage to a lot of enemies. yeah, it's just super, super good. And then the Whisper, they recently buffed it and then nerfed it a little bit. The Whisper does this like stunning thing, and it's kind of a shorter range deal, but it's not bad. It does like a huge stun to almost any enemy. It's so tiny though. Look how tiny it is. Anyway, it does a big burst of damage. Not the biggest burst of damage. It's not meant to be a damaging weapon. It's meant to be like, you know, you combine this with the Stryga, right? Like you stun almost any enemy, and then the Stryga comes along and deals tons of bonus damage to stunned enemies. You can make that work very, very nicely. I just think for my time and money, the Vulture does everything I want the demonic weapon to do, which is just to be like an oh crap, things are bad. Let's pull out the Vulture and clear out some of these guys because dang, I'm in trouble, right? Anyway, that's my tier list, friends. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. If you stayed all the way to the end of this video, kudos. I appreciate you and your dedication to this game. Anyway, hope you're feeling well. Let's see. If I do a final rundown of this, you know, if people ask me, maybe I would move this down. Maybe I would move this up. I might, if I was doing really well with this gun, I might move it up too. But man, that reload, they make it really hard to get 3 consecutive good reloads to get that trail, that frost trail. Anyway, I might do that just to adjust some things, make things a little bit more equitable. If I was feeling really strong, or if I was going to Witch Mountain, I'd bring this up. But otherwise, yeah, these are my favorites, right? And then these are also really good and super fun. Also, don't get me wrong, like all of these guns are fun to play with. They all have such a unique play style. It's one of the things that I love about this game is just how unique all of the guns feel from each other, and they bring something unique to the table. All right, friends, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.